You have two eyes, huh? Do you understand the game a bit? Yeah, have a look.
I'm not saying anything to you in particular because I know you're not too accurate with your reporting.
That's what you paid
so you're
for.
Saying I should resign. So you're saying I should resign?
I think
that's
you
your
should,
opinion. Is that right?
That's my
opinion.
opinion.
Fine.
Are you going to resign then?
No, of course I'm not going to resign.
Let's simplify things next time.
Welcome to a brand new era. Australia has changed forever this weekend. That's right. TNC, one of the great brands of Australian football, has teamed up with one of the great brands of world sports media, ESPN, Australia, New Zealand. And now we have come together to create the greatest sports broadcasting of all time that can be done on a very shoestring budget. I am Nick Stoll, your host for this evening, the People's Choice. With me this evening is Joey Lynch, looking almost like he's already spent the money that ESPN have given him by blowing it on a hotel room and a blazer. Welcome, Joey.
I am in the penthouse of my swanky apartment. My shoes cost more than your house. I mean, you are right. I mean, Nick, would you say that this is the biggest night in the history of our sport?
I would say this is a big night in history, period. Ante, Jukic, you're, on brand, wearing a Melbourne Knights tracksuit jumper. You're coming to us live from Geelong. How are you?
Look at you sellouts wearing shirts as soon as you get in.
I'm not wearing a shirt. It's a t-shirt.
Oh, sorry, Joseph. You're wearing a suit. Nick, you're wearing a shirt. You big sellouts. But
hey,
we're on brand.
What about
all right,
me, man?
Well, what about you? We're just about to get to you. Nick Devano.
In the Michael Lynch Memorial Box.
No, look what has happened. ESPN has given him so much money that he's bought Amy Park and he's broadcasting from there tonight because the internet is usually terrible. Nick Devano, tell us the atmosphere from Amy Park. How is it? Completely empty.
It's me and about 60 seagulls, I reckon, and a good internet.
And the best journalist in Australian football in the next room.
Yeah, Anna Harrington's right next door. So
hi, friend.
Fellow ESPN alumni.
Hi,
so she's busy working away at the moment. But yeah, still here, still kicking on. It's been a fun weekend, to be honest. And if you said this is the biggest day in Australian football, probably a few hours ago when we had all the Channel 10 personalities in here, if you said that loud enough, you might have gotten some funny looks. But now that everyone's gone home, we're still here. We can get away with that right now.
That's
Sandbaggers.
right.
Sandbaggers.
Look, we're going to talk, obviously, the two
Listen to the
semi-finals.
pod anyway. What's the difference?
We're gonna talk two semi-finals: Melbourne City, Adelaide United, Western United, Melbourne Victory. We're going to talk about the grand final. We're going to talk about the A-League All-Stars. We're going to talk about Hrustic winning a European Cup. We're talking about Ellie Carpenter winning a European Cup. We'll probably talk about many things, but the biggest thing is that we need your comments and questions, and they are already flying in. People have already criticized us straight away. Damn second, late, best ability. The best ability is availability, and 4 of us are available. There's a 5th person unavailable. They will be getting a fine.
You know what we say to that, fellas? No ticker.
No ticker.
None of that. No ticker.
The Homer legend on ESPN, 1 minute late, ESPN bosses in California will be surely...
No. ESPN isn't in California. Bristol, Connecticut.
There you go. Well, look, to be fair to the Homer legend, he's probably talking about Disney bosses, and Disney bosses probably are in California. So the Homer legend, once again, is more correct than Joey. Lazar 11.
Wouldn't they be in Orlando? Florida? Don't they own the state of Florida?
I believe they can go anywhere in the world. That is the power of Disney. Straight into my childhood heart. Lazar 11 says under 2.5 minutes late. Toros, what's the expected lateness? Run the memes. Guaranteed it's Nick's internet again.
No, there is a microwave at Amy Park in the next room, actually. So
it's not as powerful as the Devano microwave, though. The Devano microwave that's an industrial microwave, mate. This is a typical Kmart one here. We're not talking about there's not enough power here, like mine. It shakes the house, man.
I just want to appreciate we're 5 minutes into our first show on ESPN, brand new, massive audience. First 5 minutes has been nothing but in jokes and all of that.
Look, however, on a serious note, it is really cool that we are on this platform, and there is that kind of response, to the show. It's really fulfilling that we've been able to, shoot the shit proverbially, and people have responded in such a way and, engage and interact. So on a serious note, thank you to everyone who does listen, and, potentially will listen.
And I would like to apologise for that. We are not nanny to Melbourne victory. We panicked just as much as when we saw that tweet about the huge signing, know what it actually was. But we are a huge signing. Just we're probably not nanny to victory.
We will get on to the underwhelming reaction to our announcement later in the show. Because I think it's a good media watch segment, which we'll get to, one of our recurring segments. Toros, surely ESPN can afford some sort of microwave shielding. Alan Riley expecting a strong ESPN debut for Nick's microwave. So if you are listening for the first time, there's a few in-jokes. One, Nick Dabana's internet sucks, and usually the microwave can do it. Availability is the best ability. I think I said that once too many times. I just said it once, and people have got onto it, and then I was unavailable for about 4 shows. And then there's a bunch of wrestling in jokes that I don't really understand. So if you say some of them, I will not understand them, but maybe the other guys will.
Before we get into the football, there is actually a second thing that has been altering my internet. And I had to have a chat to my family, and I said, this is how prehistoric internet is in Templestowe at the moment.
You don't have a younger brother, do you? And you're about to just
I have an older brother.
Were you watching the wrestling at Horden Pavilion as well?
But basically, we've got a new microwave and we've got a new TV. And if you stream directly off that TV with the KO app or Paramount or Spotify, it also cooks because it's using so much power that when I try and stream, that was why actually my internet stuffed up last Sunday. It wasn't that. My brother was watching Ted Lasso and it completely cooked the internet. The second he gets off and it's Volpato chat, my internet didn't cut once. What the hell is that, man? So I said, if I come home and you're watching Collingwood in the other room on a less powerful TV because I need the power, man. But luckily, I'm still here.
Dabana, I've got to say, we're on ESPN now, so there'll be your brother was not watching Ted Lasso, which is an Apple TV thing. He was watching Disney Plus's new show.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, Only Murders in the Building. Great show on Disney Plus, Only Murders in the Building.
New series, new season of The Punisher coming to Disney Plus.
There you go.
No, not The Punisher, Daredevil. Please don't have my legs broken.
Obi-Wan Kenobi dropping on Friday. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that one as well. So there you go.
So if you were wondering how this show will change now ESPN has paid us, basically just a shit ton of cross-promotion. That's basically what's going to happen. So the Homer legend, 70,000 Redditors on our A-League were very disappointed there wasn't a big signing. We're going to get to it, all right? All right, that's how you... Look, the A-League, like this show, sometimes disappoints, but really, you stick with it, and in the end, hopefully, it'll get good.
I would just like to ask, if there's 70,000 Redditors subscribed to our A-League, why aren't they watching the games? Boosting the ratings, 70,000.
No, they're all watching. They're all watching through VPN.
Hey, we wish. Jack Pentelios, TNC are massive. Everywhere we go. Yes, I like that. That's very good to hear. Look, gentlemen, we're going to get to the fans' questions soon, and there's been a lot of good fans' questions.
We're gonna run 2.5 hours. We haven't even gotten to any points of discussion.
If I'm in the car park for more than an hour after 9 o'clock, after 8 o'clock. If I'm in after 9 o'clock, I get fined. Okay, guys, let's get moving. I just put this across the road today.
Sorry. So
7-12.
Dabano's going to lose money on his first show.
Hey.
All right. Look, another running joke is, of course, that this show,
might get to squeaky bum
always,
time after 90 minutes, man.
This show always runs under 60 minutes. All right. That's what everyone should know. I know what you're thinking. How are you going to squeeze all that chat into 50 minutes? We're going to get there. I'm going to get to your question soon. But, gentlemen, Nick, you were there. Melbourne City 2, Adelaide United 1. Let's talk about it. We all watched this game. Nick, what was the feeling like in the stadium?
It was really funny when Zach Clough scored. Like, the whole stadium just went quieter than what it actually was. And it was like, oh, my goodness. Melbourne City actually...
Oh, my goodness.
What a goal. Wow, what a goal, guys. But it was this feeling where we all looked at each other in the box and go, City aren't going to beat a top 4 team. This is actually going to happen. This is genuinely bonkers. But, after that, look, once Tilio scored and he came on, I shout out to Marco Tilio with his impact when he came on. Just brilliant. But once they scored, you got that sense there's only one team winning this game. And Carl Witt said it after the game. He said he felt they just ran out of gas. He felt Adelaide just didn't have it in them once it got to the 90th minute. He felt that they just were hanging on and City were going to run over them. And in the end, to City's credit, I mean, this is the Patrick Kisnorbo preseason, paying its dividends. All the fitness work and getting stamina up to scratch and beyond a lot of other teams in this league, and they got the job done in the end. Ante, you tweeted it, and we all probably thought the same thing when Jamie McLaren scored. That is the most Jamie McLaren goal you will ever see. Scraps in the box, pouncing on it, scoring. We spoke to Jamie McLaren after the game, and he said, look, basically it's just good for them to get back to the grand final. Like it's good as well for he's a Melbourne boy. So he said it's good that we have two Melbourne teams in the grand final. Joey had some interesting stuff to say to your dad after he brought up the fact about City and top four and everything like that. And, the same defense mechanisms we've seen implemented from City types over the last little bit. But look, they've got the job done. They've won. If they didn't win, it would have been an absolute failure on a massive level, on so many different levels. Not just the fact that it is Melbourne City, but on the fact they were the top team and they wouldn't have beaten a top four side. But yeah, Adelaide, 3 games in a week, ran out of gas. You could see it as well. And yeah, I don't know, you guys saw it differently maybe from home, but in terms of the feeling, decent. Not as good as last night, but I didn't get a crowd figure just yet, but it was 9,347 here. So it was okay. They did well on the sides and on the right-hand side, but decent Adelaide turnout and okay noise. But it was everything you'd expect, I guess, from a City versus Adelaide game, at least from a spectacle point of view. But the 2 p.m. kickoff, big tick in the Debano playbook. I really enjoyed the 2 p.m. kickoff in conditions like this. It was perfect.
You talk about McLaren coming and speaking to it. It sounds like he's been a bit more bombastic, either with the official keep up people or the broadcast, because they're running a quote on their social media. Jamie McLaren, we've just turned it into a dynasty.
Yes, he also said that too. Yeah.
What?
Which is a bit remarkable.
You have to win
Yes, you have to win multiple championships to do that. At this point, they haven't actually won multiple championships.
Hey, he was talking about the City Football Group. He's counting all Guardiola's titles at Manchester City, and he's added them on, which I like.
Shout out to Mumbai City.
And counting New York City's title in the A-Liga men's at USA last year as well. But yeah,
that feels like tempting the footballing gods. Yeah, absolutely. Because we saw it. During the regular season, didn't Jake Brimmer declare that Melbourne Victory were now the benchmark?
They weren't. They weren't ever the benchmark.
It was something like that.
They weren't ever the benchmark. And we'll get into it later. But
yeah,
with respect to Melbourne City, there was an inevitability of them winning this game, irrespective of the fact that Adelaide were arguably the more flexible team off the bench. And this is a consistent theme with Caveat. The utilization of the players he has in terms of optimizing his squad has really been non-existent.
Well, can I just ask, in terms of substitutions, what did you think of Kisnorbo's introduction of Tilio? Is he pushing for a start in the grand final? Do you think he should start in the grand final?
He should start. This
shouldn't be a discussion. He should be starting.
It should be very
however, the question is where. That's the important one. I'm not sure if we were talking about this in very early stages of the season. Kisnorbo really isn't going to stray from that A.S.S trident that he has up front.
For new viewers, he's referring to McLaren, Naboot, and Lecky, not
the A-Liga's MSN, which has performed spectacularly this season, I must say.
On that, notable that Melbourne Victory banged their head against, not Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City bangs their head against a brick wall for ages, and then what happens? It's the kid that got relegated onto the bench that makes the breakthrough.
And that's, not just that, but makes penalty area entry coming in weak side as the weak side midfielder, like at the back post. And that's this is the thing. Adelaide don't function, but City have enough to bang their heads against the wall and have it and make it sufficient because these teams don't function. And that was the primary dynamic. Watching it today, I was like, if Berenguer wasn't going to last 90 minutes, couldn't Kuznorbo stagger minutes? Like the double sub at minute 58 from memory. It wasn't necessarily changing the complexion of the game. And the complexion of a game was not conducive from City's standpoint. The game opened up, arguably.
Okay, so you just were saying that in terms of Tilio, where does he start? Who does he start for that in that front three?
Yeah.
Who do you think, if there was someone to be dropped, who do you think is most likely to be dropped? Because McLaren, in my opinion, McLaren did nothing until he basically scored the goal that was gifted to him. Did nothing. Then you've got, I thought Naboo, I don't think had a great game. And then I thought Lecky came into the game later as Tilio was introduced, actually.
Can I just add one thing
dropped.
quickly? Just one thing quickly on what Pika actually said, and this might actually be part of like a bit of a set move from Melbourne City going forward, because obviously, we talk about, if we're going to use sort of basketball terminology, you have your starting lineup and your closing lineup, and in a game like this against West United, you might need to have your closing lineup per se and your best players on the field. But I asked him about Florian Berenguer only playing 58 minutes. I said, was that something by design because he's coming back from injury, or was that something that was a tactical move? And he said it was both. He said that this Kisnorbo said that obviously he's coming back from over a month on the sidelines, but also he felt with the way the game was going, we wanted to bring Tilio on and play him in that and move Lecky centrally and put Tilio out wide. So do we think that maybe he's going to stick with that and then close with Tilio, especially if the game might be looking like it's going to 120 minutes? Because again, he didn't stray from that system. Even when he's chasing the game, he's still...
they played exactly the same way, just with a different player.
Yeah. Took Gamulka off and then brought Roston Griffiths on. It's like you're going for this game, but you're bringing on another defensive-minded player. Wouldn't you want to try and be a bit more progressive and get on the front foot? I think that was also just a. We saw that story all season.
But we saw that in the Asian Champions League.
Yeah,
we saw that in the Asian Champions League in like situations where in Melbourne City we're trying to chase a game, chasing goal difference, which in the end became incredibly important in their elimination. We saw against teams that absolutely didn't need City to play a double pivot, Gamulka and Roston Griffiths, or one of them being brought on late in games, that didn't make any sense. It's just the move, and I'm not sure.
Yeah. But see, this is what I was trying to touch on with that point on staggering the substitution. If you have a player that doesn't, that isn't going to last 90 minutes, and you're going to bring him off, wouldn't it help to relieve the burden, given he's the one creative player in the team, if Tilio is not playing with Berenguer? Like, he's the one who almost has sole responsibility to receive the ball in between the lines, which as a consequence means you're going to get fouled. Like, I see no logic in even a starting or a closing lineup. Like, just put them both on the pitch, and if he's not right to play 90 minutes, how about you remove the burden, like help relieve the burden for him while he's on the pitch?
But he's not going to do that.
Yeah, he won't.
Like, that's the thing. He won't do it.
Like, if I think if there's anything that's been not necessarily unearthed but confirmed with Patrick Kisnorbo this season, it's that he's inflexible, both from a standpoint of implementation and from a heuristic standpoint. That's fine, but there's a very real possibility that they'll win next week, and it won't matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we talk about this City team as a collection of talent is the best team in the A-League men.
Yeah,
as a collection of players, it is. It's not really a debate when you look at it, but they could be so much better. There's a ceiling on this team that has been put in place by this team, and you're constantly sitting there just like. You really could be a dynasty. Like, you really could start smashing teams around. Yeah,
should.
That is a good point. Like, with the resourcing and the talent, you should. And you're just sitting there like, Like, yeah, and probably that's why. Like, it might seem weird to first-time viewers that we're sitting here, pooping on Melbourne City when they've just qualified for a third straight grand final. But it's because we see that they should. We are holding them to that standard that their resourcing and their talent says they should be.
And that their commentary on them, that in terms of self-criticism, at least from a public standpoint, they themselves hold themselves to.
Yeah.
Like,
so like they're the best team in the
consistent
A-League. They should be the best. Yeah. They're the best team in the A-League. They should be far and away the best team in the A-League.
Absolutely.
Well,
but they're not. Yes.
Go, Nick.
Maybe they fix it.
You know what's interesting, Joey? Your dad actually asked those questions to PK about, having
for first-time viewers. My father is Michael Lynch, chief football writer of the Age newspaper.
Your dad was in fine form during these two-legged semis, Joey. You should have seen him today. He was in fantastic form. But anyways, in regards to he asked PK about is there an extra sense of chip on your shoulder kind of thing, and that need to succeed because you've got all the extra resources and everything like that. Even in a salary cap league, you've got all those resources. You can go out and spend big, and you're backed by the CFG. PK got very defensive about that and said, "Oh, but it's a salary cap league. We can't spend more than everyone else." Like, mate,
that's
like,
wrong.
Come on, mate.
That's wrong. Sorry, like
Mark, we'll get the exact quotes up as well.
Here's another in joke: coach gaslighting. But the cap is very flexible, and City are one of the teams that maximize that with respect to people. I remember when Lecky was signed, people were thinking how they got him under the cap. Well, it's because the cap is so flexible, and they have been able to get under the cap because they have been able to, let's say, improvise within the confines that are set. Or
so you're talking about front-ended, back-ended contract kind of vibe?
No. That more has to do with players coming through and what actually sits within the cap, and what percentage of pay can be removed from the cap.
Before we talk more about Melbourne City and we'll preview the grand final that they play next week, let's talk a little bit about Adelaide. Their season came to an end today. Adelaide, a team probably, maybe they exceeded expectations in terms of where they finished on the table and, making a semi-final. But pretty poor today. Actually pretty poor over the two legs. If you think about how little they created over the two legs, both at home. And the goal today, it was wonderful. It was amazing. And, I hope it, goes viral on Twitter and whatever. It was a fun moment. But outside of that, very, very little. Jack Pentelios says maybe playing two 35-year-olds 3 times a week isn't ideal, Mr. VAR. He then clarifies that with one day and Isais, just to make it doubly clear. And then Alan Riley says, keen to hear Ante tear into those Isais and cloth stinkers. Ante, your thoughts?
Yeah, long time, or listeners of this show are well aware of my opinions on Juande and Isais. Primarily, they most distinctly contribute to a lack of functionality with Adelaide and an isolation of Adelaide's attacking players. And so Clough not really being able to, let's say, have a consistent impact on games is born as a result of that. Most like with a lot of attackers that have played at Adelaide over the years. There were so many instances in this game where Adelaide restricted themselves in possession and Melbourne City were able to win the ball high up the pitch. And that's not because of some sophisticated defensive scheme from Melbourne City. That's just from really poor, really safe, really passive positioning. And Viet, let alone Blackwood as a 10, like Viet's interpretation of what makes this team tick is I've been at odds with it, to be honest. And in a game like this, and even in the first leg and in the games against Central Coast, what are they creating from open play against a set defense? Nothing. It's all transition. They're creating nothing.
That was, I guess, the issue as well. Even when they went 1-0 up, they offered such little attacking threat that Melbourne City were able to pour forward, and then never at any time looked like, hey guys, we have to, keep a few back.
We have to figure it out.
Counter attack. Oh yeah, this is going to be a real issue. Like you said, Melbourne City were just able to bang their head against the door enough times that eventually, the dam broke. Nick Dabana, I want to ask you a question because in the TNC chat. That is always very official and very professional. I was commenting on George Blackwood, who I was surprised to see starting at 10 position. Those out there, people watching, George Blackwood is a 10. What are your thoughts? Because to me, I'm a little surprised he's a professional footballer, to be honest with you. But look, that might be a bit harsh.
Wow.
But
what was your suggested career, Nick?
I just think that there are other options outside football that he could pursue.
You called him a real estate agent.
No, just he looks like one. But anyway, look, that's
hanging out the Lords of Property Instagram page.
Look, there's a former Stoke City striker / former NPL player who's now a real estate agent, and you can find him all over Instagram. I'm not going to mention. Don't want to give him the shout out. But anyways, George Blackwood. Interestingly enough, didn't get a chance to ask Viet about it this time, but asked him about it on Wednesday. The rationale he said behind playing George Blackwood as a 10 was because he believes that when Adelaide play against Melbourne City, they want to have more of the ball. And by playing George Blackwood as a 10, he believes they can retain more possession in doing so. Now, in terms of just one thing I wanted to mention about
why Blackwood loses the ball every time he gets
Did you see the step barreled into Jefferson?
Sometimes you just need to put your hands up and just go, okay.
Look, I don't want to pile on George Blackwood. It's not all his fault, as Ante pointed out. One day, and he says, there are issues. There's issues across the whole team. But I'll just say with George Blackwood, he gives the ball away like Labor people give how to vote cards out. Yesterday, just pull them here, have another one. Here, have another one. Here, have another one.
Topical stuff.
It was just like, I don't know. To me, it was crazy. Jack Pentelios says, honestly, though, from an Adelaide United point of view, Malk is probably our MVP with Goodwin and Clough as replacement has been an absolute disaster.
No. This was happening while Halloran and Mork were in the team as well. They were still very volatile and very dysfunctional in possession while Halloran and Mork were in the team. Mork was in a lot of instances the most advanced player on the pitch in the same way that Riley McGree was when they were playing as a number 10. And they only had, some relative kind of or situational functioning because, the honourable member for Stoll was just so great and, so smart a footballer and with his ability to improvise. But
just quickly, for those playing at home, the honourable member for Stoll is Joey.
Comrade Ben Halloran.
who looks like a Marxist university lecturer for those playing at home as well.
That's about 4 in-job
4 players deep.
Yeah.
Go on, Devano.
I was just going to say, you guys mentioned about the older legs in Adelaide United, and we were looking at, before the presser at, players coming out of contracts. And we actually asked Viet if Jakobsen, Wande, and Javi Lopez are going to go again next year. They're the 3 guys out of contract, whether there's plans for them to offer them a new deal or if they're going to retire. He was very coy about it. So he sort of said, basically, if I'm just reading, this is not exact quotes, this is reading off Otter. Otter is not always 100% for the transcription, but he said basically, look, they have to work through it. He says he's sure they all want to play on, but it basically, without saying it, is, kind of alluding to the fact that there's no guarantee they're going to be back next season.
Jakobsen goes, Isaias in 1 day stay.
Well, Isaias is contracted, so I think he will be there no matter what. But 1 day, and also Javi Lopez as well is also out of contract. Craig Goodwin as well. He said they'd love to have him back, but obviously his loan deal expires. Whether they bring him back or not is a whole nother question. But also wasn't committal about Cassini Yengi either. We know he's linked to the Wanderers. I think that would be a big loss because I got shout out to Cassini Yengi, man. That guy is so much fun to watch live. Like seeing him live, and there was that one play where he completely wrong-footed Curtis Good up against the touchline, like right up there, and sent him for a doggy. And I forgot who he laid it off to, but it was just like, oh my goodness, this guy is so much fun. He's going to be a fantastic player if he continues developing the way he is, but also if he can stay fit, because there's a lot of ability there. It's just about, I guess, getting him out there regularly, and hopefully can get regular reps in instead of, his body letting him down, which it did this season.
Speaking of staying fit, we should bear in mind who he's doing this to. One of the most physically washed defenders in the league, and Curtis Good. Like, he was looking at him like he was food. Like, even in moments where he's trying to body him one-on-one, like he overpowered Curtis Good because Curtis Good just physically can't stand. Yengi, like even in relative terms, is very dynamic. That's fine. I think we can accept that. But it's like, how much of it is column A? How much of it is column B? That was a question I was asking myself today.
That is going to be a matchup to watch next week. Curtis Good, Alexander Prijovic.
Prijovic on Good.
Yeah, Prijovic knows how to use his body.
Yeah, did you see? And you know what? He was doing a lot of that against Bidanovic. Speaking of physically, let's say declining defenders.
I know.
Like,
we'll get to the game in a bit, but like his hold-up play and his layoff for Lockie Wales Scotland.
But
like, I know people look at his. I like that more than his goals. Just the I love seeing a number 9 go at it like that.
Can I just add one thing? Just we have a comment come through. Yep, we have a comment come through on the Hotmail on the text line. We got a message
from Doncaster.
No, it's not Matthew from Doncaster. We've actually got a message coming through from Pakua from Berwick, telling Ante stop talking smack about her mate Curtis Good, because obviously she.
Ah, yes.
Her and Curtis Good.
That's right.
They're good friends. So, don't
It's the same.
You know what? We should be airing this on air. But however, go on, Stoll.
No. If you're going to reveal,
I'm not going there.
However,
okay. Is this the same Pakua who says, Stoll, what time are you doing?
Yes.
Going for today? Less than 2 hours?
Or
hopefully we're going for less. I saw someone said in the comments, now ESPN's acquired you, are they going to make you stay under an hour? I wish. They didn't say anything. They said, do what you want. Enjoy. Go. Be free.
They announced
11.
us with a wrestling promo.
Yeah, okay,
that was all about.
All right, that was not cleared by me. All right, these wrestling promos suck. All right, all these wrestling references, I hate it. I saw Andy Harper give a wrestling reference.
Hey,
I saw Adam.
Who's watching Mario Milano at the Haunted Pavilion?
McBreen's been dropping a few of them this season as well.
All right, I'm telling you, if you are involved in Australian football, please do not do any more wrestling references. They're killing me.
We know you're listening. It's all good.
Hey, Stoll. Stoll, when your hand goes up, we'll make sure we shut up, okay?
like Simon Hill, if you're listening to this podcast, just drop in about Western United next week. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yes.
God. I love doing this podcast and I hate doing this podcast all at the same time. So we just I wouldn't say we smashed. We just had some interesting analysis. Lockie Flanagan says on YouTube, Nick Stoll dissing wrestling meme content. My Twitter account in ruins.
I thought that already happened with Rangers win last night.
Or what about when Anna Harrington compared him to a 4-year-old? Anyway,
from having a first down account of Lockie and Anna, when Lockie and Anna were in the box today, when Anna walked in, Lockie, I was like, looking at Lockie, he looked a bit nervous, and you could tell there was a bit of, poor young boys. It was great.
Look, we've had some words about One Day Isaias, George Blackwood, the front three of Melbourne City. But Lazar 11, he says, while we're slandering football, it's not slandering, we're just offering a little bit of analysis. Just a little bit of analysis. Roston Griffiths
Melbourne City the best team in the league.
There you go. Roston Griffiths gives me the impression of a player who thinks he's a Rolls Royce, when in reality he's just a base model Corolla. Kind of reliable, gets you there. Really,
Roston definitely does not think he's a Rolls Royce.
Nah,
he knows physically.
He's actually self-deprecating, to be honest.
Yeah, like Roston Griffiths, like he's fully aware of Roston Griffiths' fullest.
However,
Roston Griffiths is more aware of Roston Griffiths' physical limitations than any other.
He's probably the opposite to some players at Melbourne City who have rather elevated opinions of themselves. But
I just like no. Actually, I have to recall. I interviewed Rustin Griffiths during the last season, and he's talking about I actually prefer to play as a centre back because all the games in front of me, and I don't have to run around as much. Exclusively as a six this year.
not playing Gamuka instead because he's not old enough.
Look, Lazar 11. While the guys disagree with the comment, we do like analogies. So any football analogies you have, send them in. A lot of fun, and let us know who we think. I don't know. We could do car analogies all night. The Homer legend, Yengi should be the face of the A-League men next season. Great character and exciting player with a good touch and pass. Thoughts? I believe he was kind of the face of the league at the start of this season a little bit. Weren't they using him a lot in marketing, and when they changed the name over from
memory,
A-Leagues?
It's Toure. They were using Toure on
I
Paramount
can't,
Plus.
Yengi
anyway,
was used a lot early, but then he was
even on the broadcast, like, you know, don't they still have like Abini and Ninkovic while Here Come the Future playing? Like,
I mean, like Marco Tilio was the face of the league, and he's played like I'm actually.
They make sure
played sporadic.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to look up the exact proportion of minutes Marco Tilio played this season.
Well, yeah, he appeared in that video clip a little bit more. Anyway,
they make sure you ain't booty.
Great radio. Last. But yeah, like I think when it comes to Yengi, he can be a very good striker in this league and beyond. I don't think his, let's say, his skill set is maximized this season at Adelaide. I think he's really good if he was put in an environment, or if he was put in a situation where he's able to pin the defensive line in the way that he does, which then gives him space to come in. Like if he's playing in, let's say, compressed space, there are a lot of instances where, you know, it is a bit of column A, column B with this one, where, you know, they're trying to wrap passes into him, and they're basically saying to Yengi, deal with it. But I want to see him in an environment with, you know, let's say with a system that allows him to pin the centre backs back, and then he has the option whether he can retreat or go in behind the defensive line.
Yeah.
So, all right. Looking at Marco Tilio's minutes this season, the face of A-League men played 53.6% of available regular season minutes.
All right, we're going to move on to Melbourne victory 1, Western United 4. Fun game, a lot of fun. But one thing I just wanted to get to before we get to that is we actually, when it was announced that TNC was going to be on ESPN, Alessandro Diamanti, Western United player, actually, he spoke out about it, and here's what he had to say.
When you have quality, then when you have vibes, it's not a lot very unbelievable. I think it's pretty normal.
So there you go. No. He thought a lot of people were surprised that ESPN, the global brand, had partnered with us. But as he says, when you have quality, when you have vibes, you know, it's pretty good. So shout out to Diamanti.
It was incredible looking at those videos Western United put up in the dressing room afterwards. They're all, you know, celebrating and all of that. At some point, from taking the picture with the fans to getting to the dressing room, Diamanti has lost his shirt just randomly. Just like all the players in various stages of undress because they've just played a football match, and there's Diamanti just with his shirt.
Wait, so you're saying that Diamanti thinks he's already won the Scudetto by the fact that he's won the title, so he's immediately stripped? By the way, Forza Milan tonight. Hope they do the business against Sassuolo. What a weird game.
Well, hold on. Just before you guys get into it, I just want to ask. Diamanti there talking about, obviously, our podcast, quality, vibes. What did you guys think in terms of, you know, let's analyze those two things when it comes to this game.
They have vibes
and quality.
They have Western have a lot of vibes, and that's specifically something that John Aloisi has cultivated, especially in relation to the last two seasons, where honestly, it's probably a tough place to work You know, with some if some results go a certain way. Individual quality they have. I don't think they have a collective quality, and that was probably apparent last night because Prijovic decided the game.
What a player! What a player!
And again,
Sort of similar, but not too similar. Remember final a few years ago at Amy Park when Rudin was in charge of Wellington Phoenix versus Victory. It was just Ola Toivonen decided that Melbourne Victory were winning, so Melbourne Victory won. Sort of similar. Prijovic decided Western United were winning, so Western United won.
Yeah, and you know what? I will say he's a bloody good interview. I'll give him that. Even though he said, this is his one interview for the season. I'm not having that.
Yeah.
What language did you do the interview in?
No, we did one in each.
I allowed everyone else to go in English first, and then I was able to go on after that. But he did say that they felt it. Like as soon as they went 2-1 up, there was no way that Victory was going to beat them. And I don't want to give up too much because, I'll probably be writing on Prijovic this week because Berenguer was my other potential, and that's gone out the window. That hasn't gone out the window. But I will say Western were very confident as soon as they went 2-1 up. And that goal was critical. Cheap plugs. That second goal was critical because it was at a period in the game where the onus was on Aloisi to make the game happen or to chase the result. He didn't necessarily have to do that with once that second goal came. And then that third goal was, in terms of what Prijovic did to set that third goal up for Wales and allow Wales just to hit it first time perfectly. That's proper number 9 areas. He was able to peel off just a little bit, pin the centre back in, give him enough space to play Wales, who's coming in underneath him. Wales has timed his run well enough to hit it first time. But yeah, that's what they paid him for, essentially last night.
A lot of money.
Can I just say, from also being there last night, just in general, I had a lot of fun. Like we don't usually leave there like Amy Park. We sometimes leave in a bit of an existential crisis. Like, what the hell did we just watch?
Oh no! What do you mean? It's wow! What a game, guys!
Yeah, but it's the wow! What a game with underneath it. Like, oh my goodness, that was awful. But in general, that game, I had a lot of fun at the football last night, and it makes everyone's
A-Liga.
I know it's such a simplistic and boring ass take, and it's positive. And
no, it's not.
We've had that take a few times this season.
No, but seriously,
we're not as curmudgeonly as people maybe think.
It's crucial. It is absolutely crucial that you go to the football and you enjoy it. Otherwise, what are we doing? What is the point of this?
There was so much everything from the moment, you got this sense when you walked in, that Victory, if they get an early goal, this tie is over. They had the support on the left-hand side of us in a terrace was sensational, with the banners and everything. There was a real sense of this is it's funny because as much as this was 2 Victorian teams, we joke about the lack of support. It really felt like it was Victory taking on an interstate team. And, you really felt as if Western were an away team in this game as much as it was 2 Victorian teams. It was a lot of fun. And once Prijovic scored and you felt that energy change, kudos to Connor Payne as well with that cross. Yeah, we talk about Prijovic's dink as well.
And
that was on his right freaking foot. And as well. When did Dylan Wenzel-Hall have that in his freaking artillery? Seriously.
I remember said it last night. I said it last night. But
it was
to use the joke, to use let's say the in-joke that we have in the press box. You just felt that the next goal was crucial here, boys. Yeah, spot on, BT. That was the case. That was the case with if whoever scored that first goal, if a goal was to come in that second leg, it was going to, I guess, transform the tie. However much the complexion of the game didn't change because a lot of what was going on was still and that was even the case in the first game. A lot of what was going on didn't necessarily change from a standpoint of details and how everything played out. It was just the game opened up for Western in a way that they. This was something that Aloisi mentioned after the first game. They weren't necessarily rushing in transition.
So just before,
just
one second,
go-
just before we get on to Aloisi, just want to get some comments in from the people. Luke Chill, the vibes last night were ridiculous. An amazing fan experience. He looks like he's a Western United fan.
Big fan of his avatar. Tomoki Imai, underrated footballer.
Agree. As a Western
And
United
underrated
player,
human being.
yes, there are some of us.
Great human being.
I thought it was a great game. And you know what? This is the interesting thing, because we have a few Western United supporters and think, and the joke is, there's not, there's no supporters, blah, blah, they can't fill a stadium. Blah, blah. And that is, true on some level. But the supporters that were there, last night, made a lot of noise, brought a lot of good atmosphere, like full respect to them. And they actually seem to really, really care about their team, which is actually, I put them ahead of MacArthur, that's for sure. They're
But you know what? You think about it this way: it's not the first time, or like even if they didn't make the grand final last night, that's twice in 3 seasons they've came within a bee's proverbial of making a grand final.
From a football perspective,
that was in the bubble as well in the first season. Like they were this close from beating City in the first season. Second season it goes to goes to dung. But the third season, look, however much. I think it's quite clear that they have the highest payroll in the league, and I think that's common knowledge for anyone around the league. You were going to say, Devano?
I was just going to say about the fans in that corner. Like, it was nice to see after the game some of the scenes. And Western United posted a really good video when Wenzel Hall scored the 4th goal. It was like the classic pitch side camera. I love it. Like in any league around the world, when you've got the look of the away fans when there's a goal and the limbs. In the box in that area. And again, I know we joke about, and everyone jokes about their lack of fans, but that little corner of fans in that away section, they did brilliantly yesterday. And the noise, and you could see the genuine excitement of the fact they got it done. And you saw, the camera shot of all the players running over, and, there was some interesting language from Josh Rizzo they got on camera. I thought that's interesting that Western United are posting that live. Then also as well, you saw directly in front of us, seeing all the players run on, and John Aloisi getting fired up, and Topo Stanley with a foot injury and he can barely run. He's running out there. It was fun.
I think we have to aspetto with that, like, because I asked Aloisi last night about it, during the presser as well. Like, what truly legitimizes the club? It has to be more than one season where they spend more than everyone else. And that's probably something that was very important with Bozanovsky coming on as a sub. And you think about it in this game, not for this game, but for this final series, Adisubayu would probably be playing as well if he wasn't injured. And so, like it's this. If Western want to be a legitimate club in that respect, can't just be
halfway.
Yeah. Go, Joey.
One thing I also wanted to mention just about transitioning, being a proper club and all of that, and spoiler alert, I've sort of touched on this in one of my articles as well. I think
he was so desperate to get in, and I was thinking, what is this point he wants to make? It was a plug. I knew it was going to be a plug.
it's a plug, but it's also a point. I believe in the point so much I'm revealing it now rather than saving it for the article. Ooh. I think last night was the first time Western United actually hurt Melbourne Victory as a football club.
What are you talking about? What about the game where they won 3-2?
Nah. That was too early in their existence.
Too early in their existence. Too early in their existence. And in the first 2 years, Western United couldn't hurt Melbourne Victory any more than Melbourne Victory were already hurting themselves.
Bro,
Melbourne Victory
dropped the 40 class in the first game against Melbourne Victory.
It was a regular season game. Melbourne Victory turned out to be shit that season.
Ante, sometimes you focus too much on the pitch. You're too
No.
Too much.
No. Sorry.
No,
the pitch is the compass. The pitch is the compass. Anything else is peripheral. Well, I'm sorry.
Right, I did not. But like it's like the pitch. There's the context of what happened on the pitch as well. Melbourne Victory were a dumpster fire in Western United's first and second season in the league. As I said, Melbourne Victory, they couldn't hurt Melbourne Victory any more than Melbourne Victory had hurt themselves. This season, Victory were good. And
really?
I guarantee.
Really?
Yes.
In a relative context.
Yes,
really?
At least acknowledge in a relative context to the rest of the A-League, they were good.
That makes them good. They spent.
They went higher on the table. They went closer to the grand final.
Put it this way: every
were
single Melbourne Victory fan went to that game expecting to make the grand final, and they lost 4-1.
And
that stings.
Absolutely, and it should sting.
And
but
it should
how,
sting.
how,
and
how
I think that's the
like,
first. And I think
is,
let me finish. And I think
sorry.
that's the first time Western United has made Melbourne Victory fans feel like that.
Yeah, and to add to that,
it's a bit late, but it's better late than never.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's before they got a stadium. So
coming back to the presser last night and talking about matters on the pitch. Popper was noticeably touchy about that last night because it was the same thing in the first league. Like they had a lot of the ball in the first league, and the goal that changes the complexion of the game comes from a dead ball where in a period where they didn't put up a shot in that second half in open play, and they had close to 70% of the ball. And last night when I asked Popovic about it, it was the second leg was largely a continuation of the first in that respect. They weren't translating possession to really anything tangible in possession. I think they had until late when they just went cross and inshallah, I think they had the Majota chance and the Economides chance late, but before that point, I think it was like they had about 5 shots in the penalty area in open play, like against the set defense, I guess. And they had the majority of possession. So this is important. You have to be able to break down the chances in which, or the opportunities in which chances come. And 3 of those 5 shots came in the one action, where D'Agostino retreats between the lines, releases Falami, then Davidson gets a shot, then there's like another couple of shots that are blocked after that. They created nothing in possession. And if they're relying, I was talking about this to someone whose name will remain redacted after the game.
Guardiola.
No, redacted.
Stefano Pioli.
If they're relying on a penalty shout, if they're relying on a penalty shout when they've had that much of the ball over 180 minutes and created nothing, then they frankly weren't good enough. And coming back to Popovic now, that's what he got very, very touchy over. And I pulled him up afterwards, and he, just to clarify what we're talking about here, and I asked him, I didn't mean your front four. And he smiled and nodded, and he's like, yeah, but that's hard. And so I look forward to
between the lines. What does that mean? He's concerned with his midfield?
No, I don't think it's going to change.
So when he says,
he's just going to do more of this.
Okay, great. Well, that's exciting. Look, it's interesting with Tony Popovic because it will go down, I think, go down Melbourne Victory thing. Oh, yeah, we massively improved on last season and therefore it is a successful appointment and data. But there should, I think, be questions raised about this Victory team in the wash-up. You'd hope that John Diddlitcher and kind of the team above him would kind of look at it and go, okay, why was this, why, like you say, why did we struggle kind of to create so much? I just want to run through some quick questions before we get to Debano, who's going to talk about Aloisi's presser. Toro says, are West United a better organised side without Diamante in the starting lineup? Does seem like they improved without him in there.
We spoke about this, very early on in the piece. How much of it is, Western being organised, and how much of it is to just the low level of functionality from teams in the league in possession?
Yeah. Good question, Torres. Similarly, is Western United better or worse with Dia not in the squad? Yep, kind of touched on that. Run the memes. Not used to Nick having such good internet connection. It's unsettling. Look at Debano. Luke Chill is a Western United fan. Diamante is so important in creating chances. You can see how Western struggled as soon as he went down. Don't know. I feel like they were actually
let me just say, cheap plug.
It's coming.
It's
all right.
It's coming.
Stephen Paletti, they say Nick's internet has gotten over so organically it's going to be buried. Stephen, for God's sakes, mate.
3 seconds into the match, you'll be buried.
I'm going to come back next week.
You could tell Stoll started that and then realized.
I thought he
about
was actually
halfway
saying
through.
something good.
I'm
I hate the rest.
I'm gonna come back next week with gold face paint and a big star and start calling myself Stardust as well. Just to go full repackage. So who knows what's going on there? But
we're gonna give Debano a dancing gimmick.
Debano, just before I come to you, I just want to, for those of you watching on the podcast, go check out the video.
Watching on the podcast, that's impressive.
Listening on the podcast. Go watch the video stream that we'll put up, obviously on ESPN's YouTube and our Twitter and our Facebook, but maybe ESPN's Facebook from next week. We'll work that out. Laurie Haresh says, Joey really needs a light scarf to complete that fix X high-rise look. And then someone else commented that so we've got Joey giving Miami Vice vibes, but that wasn't my favorite.
Needs a pastel suit.
I've got to find it.
A pastel suit.
Or a pastel shirt, not the pastel suit, but the pastel shirt.
Someone said Joey looks like he's trading Forex or something, which was
I saw that
favorite one. I can't find that one, but trading crypto. That is exactly what he looks like. But look, we love the comments coming in. Debano, talk to us about Aloisi's press comments, because it did kind of, there's a bit of, I don't know if it's your question, but there was a nice moment. I saw it kind of go on Twitter about him talking about, his coaching journey and how he thought he might have to go overseas and all that. So I was Michael Lynch. Sorry, credit where it's due. The superior. Even get there. The superior Lynch.
Of the three Lynches.
But Debano, tell us specifically
There's only two. One's lost his last name.
Tell us, Alistair Lynch, AFL player for Brisbane Lions back in the day. Shout out to him. But
it's only Alistair now, Joe.
No,
sorry, his name's only Alistair, not Alistair Lynch. He lost his last name. That's the third Lynch I'm alluding to.
Stoll. Surely you're a fan of, you respect the accomplishments of Becky Lynch as well, given her amazing efforts in her field as well. Becky Lynch. You've heard of Becky Lynch, yeah?
The Becky Lynch.
Debano.
She's the man.
Debano, tell us about Aloisi, for God's sake. I'll hit you all, and I'll tell my story about Aloisi.
So, Lynch Senior asked that, and I then stole the thunder and posted the video on Twitter. So I got the screen grab off Keep Up and put that up straight up.
Sorry, a classic tactic of Australian media.
So because it was a really nice quote. I mean, he summed it up perfectly. He goes, look, you know what, like, he thought he was done. I mean, we all thought, I think we can all say that at some point we thought we wouldn't see him again in the A-League at some stage or whenever that opportunity would come. I mean, he's been linked to so many jobs and he never quite got over the finish line. Then in the end, Western United came along and gave him an opportunity. And he kind of alluded to the fact that he feels that people still look at what happened at Melbourne Heart, but not necessarily about his first few seasons at Brisbane, where he got them to, the Bees proverbial of a grand final in 2016 in that loss to Tony Popovich's Western Sydney. There was the other semi-final here, I believe, in 2017 against Melbourne Victory, where they lost 1-0. And as well, they got eliminated in elimination final too. So he sort of said, look, I just don't think I think that I've shown that I can do some decent stuff. I showed it at Brisbane before that debacle at the end where everything just sort of fell apart, that I can coach a team, and I've learned from those Melbourne Heart days. I think it's a bit unfair. And he said that my passion is coaching. I wanted to coach, and there was a very real possibility that if he didn't get the Western United job, he would have head overseas. And he said about, how the fact that he's moved away from his family. His family's still all based in Brisbane to take up this opportunity. If it wasn't for their support, he wouldn't be where, doing this right now and where he is right now. And I just think it's a great story. I mean, we can say what we like about Aloisi's coaching style and everything like that, but he's done a fantastic job with this club, at least from an intangible point of view, to get them all pulling in the same direction. Because the players always talk about Aloisi being a mentor, the culture, the feeling of togetherness there. Because we spoke about Western United not having much of an identity, not having a stadium, not having a big supporter base. They need to pull it together from somewhere, and it has to come from within, because they're playing in front of threadbare crowds. It's not like as if there's that home field advantage where they step out into their pitch and they've got 15,000 raucous fans every week that can give them that 12th man per se. They have to find it from within. And you saw that yesterday. Like, they could have easily crumbled after Brimmer's goal, but they regrouped. They even said it after Tuesday. We're not out of this game. We can do it. And I think that's a credit to John Aloisi's side, to John Aloisi and their side, because the end of last season, they were folding like a cheap suit after they conceded the first goal. It was like, how many are they going to concede now? The team, I know there's a lot of different players now. They've got a lot of experienced heads who probably help drive that. Guys like Jamie Young, Josh Risdon, Neil Kilkenny, those sort of heads help probably drive that sense of, okay, like this is where we are. We all need to pull in the same direction. And he's done a fantastic job. I mean, there was a bit as well where I think we also thought that after those three didn't go without a win, those last three, that they'd probably fall apart. We were even thinking, would they even get past the elimination final? So I got to say, credit to him as well for turning around his career. A lot of the talk's been about Tony Popovich's revolution at Melbourne Victory, winning the FA Cup, getting them from the bottom of the table to back into the finals and back at the top part of the table they belong. But I think as well that same level of credit needs to go to John Aloisi because he's gotten them to the grand final. And right now there is every chance that he is going to be able to get it done. And you know what? I can't help but applaud him. I mean, we've gone along the journey with him this year from day one, FFA Cup playoff against Newcastle in Geelong back in the start of November. That feels like an eternity ago. We didn't know what to expect. They didn't play the most attractive football. They were shithousing 1-0 wins. Apologies for language. Well, yeah, they don't. But they were winning those, tight, scrappy 1-0 wins that got them up the table. And right now, well, look, they're right there. They're knocking on the door. And they've had the wood over City this season. We'll talk about the grand final preview in a sec. But they have had the wood over City this year in those 3 games. I know they've all been different in different ways. Like City had players missing in that second game. And in the second half, in that third game, they were run over. But they have shown, and there's one particular matchup I want to talk about later. That's I really am looking forward to seeing on a certain flank. That I think that Western United have shown. Yeah, the Formula One sound sum it up. That is where that game, obviously we saw it in that first half of that third game. That's where Western United could honestly be able to potentially pinch this game. And I got to say, you know what? I'm looking forward to this. I cannot wait for next Saturday. And if they go on and win it, at least they've got their proverbial going, on the field. Because if they can start getting it together off it, at least from getting the stadium sorted and everything else, they're on the right track in that sense because they've won a trophy from 3 years. Has any team other than the initial franchise teams from the original 8, has any team won the championship this quickly?
Not championship. No.
Western Sydney did it. Western United will have won the championship within
Western
3
Sydney
seasons.
won the Asian Champions League within about 18 months.
I know, but like at least from a domestic point of view, Nick.
Time goes on, the more you think like, honestly, I swear, yeah, like the monkey paw that we had to buy to get that happening. But can I just quickly say on Aloisi?
I just wanted to. Nick yelled out a few players there that have probably contributed to the vibes. There was one that I don't think gets a lot of exposure and credit for the vibes in the Western United dressing room, but I think from what I can tell, he's really important to him. And I thought it was probably fitting that in the aftermath of the final goal that sealed at Wenzel Hall's goal, it was Ryan Scott that was the first player to grab John Aloisi, Western United's backup goalkeeper. Unless you're really paying a lot of attention to that Western United team, you probably don't get to see what Ryan Scott does for that team. Like he's the backup, he's been voted Club Man of the Year, players' favorite player of the year, all of that sort of stuff. And he brings the vibes. Like after the wins, he's the bloke with the megaphone, trying to cheer up I really think that, he doesn't get a lot of credit because obviously he doesn't play. Jamie Young is the nailed on number 1 there. But Ryan Scott is a key figure in that dressing room and probably deserves credit for these vibes that have lifted Western United to a grand final in their third year.
And if you've been paying attention to FFA or Australia Cup folklore, and you remember when Bentley Greens were winning games, he was the person leading all those celebrations in the locker room as well. You speak about the intangibles. That's important. Your backup goalkeeper. I mean, we speak about Ivan Keleva's vibes. Ryan Scott, mate,
because
he's
Kellever is a backup goalkeeper playing as a number 1. He's exactly what a backup goalkeeper should be doing. Vibes. I actually spoke to someone recently who used to play for Western United, and they were like, "Look, Ryan Scott is the perfect example of a second goalkeeper. Keeps everyone in good spirits. That's what you want from a second goalkeeper." Look, Zelko Kalac at AC Milan. What do you think that was all those years? Right?
Zelko Kalac. Zalko had a good month in the team, a good couple months in 2008. There was a good period where you couldn't beat him, and everyone was thinking, where the hell has this been? Where was this
I
in
have-
2006?
I have a lot of respect for Spider, but I just say even his stories, it's very important to be that second goalkeeper, keep the vibe.
Well,
One thing I
let
want
me
to
also
say
just say that Ryan Scott is good enough to start in the A-League.
All right, let me also say, interrupt me again, and I'll kick you out of this stream. Aloisi, I was working with him at Optus when he was
You can't
basically
say that. We're on
negotiating.
ESPN now.
No, okay, and I work for
Whatever,
Stan,
man.
so whatever.
At a
Working
rival.
for him. The
No.
forbidden door has been opened.
All right, I'm gonna kick all you guys out.
Man,
Optus. I was at Optus, right? And he was negotiating with Western United at the time. And he was saying that basically, he's talking to us and, blah, blah, close to maybe getting the job. And he said at the time, the expectations were top 2. And I remember saying, you got to be kidding me. Top 2 with that team. No chance. Like, tell them they're dreaming. This is ridiculous. Man, good luck. Like, maybe say yes. And then at the end be like, it didn't really work out.
did he say he's going to guarantee top 2?
I don't know what the hell that is, but it sounds like a wrestling reference. The point is, I think it is a good point. And you got to remember as well, one thing that was really interesting about last night was Melbourne Victory fans were openly celebrating when Aloisi wasn't appointed their coach. I think was it Marco Kurtz? It was down to Marco Kurtz and Aloisi a few years ago. And A-League Memes was sharing like an old article written when he, joined the youth team or something, saying John Aloisi joins Melbourne Victory. And Melbourne Victory fans, no, this guy, terrible. So for him to go to their stadium and knock them out of, the A-League final series, that's massive. And that must be good vindication for him.
Very questionable.
Yeah, for sure. But all fan bases, let's be honest.
You all suck.
Yeah.
And just on that, and just on that, Stoll, don't like John Aloisi would know about that. Don't think he's forgotten. He has we talk about keeping receipts. It would definitely have been like a big up yours.
Man,
look what I've done.
I went and looked up today. I went up and looked up the announcement Facebook and Twitter posts that Western United put up when John Aloisi was named coach. After Aloisi, the second most common thing posted in those responses. Why didn't you get Stajic?
That's very interesting. So
people hated that appointment. They wanted Staj.
I still remember when I worked at SBS that when Fornaroli signed for Melbourne City, and it was like, his nickname is El Tuna. And then someone was like, this guy's going to be the worst player ever. El Spooner, more like it. And then he came in and just ripped the league first season. Homer the Legend says, quick question for King Joey. First of all, Homer the Legend, if you refer to Joey as any kind of royalty from here on in, your comments will not be read out. But anyway, I heard a while ago that Western United are currently filming a documentary set to be released by the end of the year or so. Do you know if this is accurate? Joey?
I've been interviewed for it several times.
There you go. So I would say
they have been banished from the press box because they would just keep coming in to film us until Ante started asking for release forms.
There are several anecdotes with the documentary crew, which we will talk about on another day.
We'll do a watch along.
You know what? I'm really terrified. I'm really terrified. I did an interview with them at one point, and then I realized as I was walking my way, my fly was half undone. So I'm just desperate that they were filming me from the waist up.
So, look, Homer the Legend, when you do watch that documentary, just make sure you have the remote in hand to fast forward straight past Joey's parts and his parts as well. Luke Chill says, last night felt much more spiteful, especially considering we hadn't beat them yet this year and the amount of stick we got from everyone. Yeah, it actually, genuinely, talking about a documentary, this actually felt like the end of the first chapter of Western United. You would finish the document we've proven them all wrong. There was a bit of history made last night. Alan Riley, glad to see ESPN money going to good use in upgrading Ante's interrogation room.
Actually, the light on my lamp has actually gone out, so I have to buy a new lamp. Or a new light.
Can I just add, Stoll, it wouldn't be the last episode, it'd be the second last episode, because if we're going to talk about pop culture references, you always remember that the second last episodes of a season were always the ones that left you on the cliffhanger. You know what I mean? Like you think about,
Yeah,
you watch
episode
Game of
9.
Thrones,
Yeah,
like
that's right.
seasons 1 to like 5 or 6, like they were always the highest rated episodes, whereas the second last one, always the big shocker would happen in that episode heading into the season finale. So is this going to be like Sunderland Till I Die, or is this going to be a little bit more happier, more like the Italy Rai documentary they did for the Euros, which was fan-bloody-tastic.
Well,
So I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes out.
There's another club that's doing an A-League documentary. I don't know if
there's about 8 of them doing documentaries. Every club has watched Drive to Survive and decided.
You know what? Hey, I think we should ask this question. Are they all going to be on Paramount Plus, or are they going on Disney Plus?
Oh yeah, who knows? Well, if they're on, we only watch on Disney Plus.
Look, if there's Disney Plus, all I'm saying is to everyone, just stay tuned for the post-credit scene when Lynch Senior makes his return. That's like the big reveal at the end.
Pakua from Hong says, just waiting for Anna Harrington to arrive on TNC, and you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Is that a wrestling
Where'd
reference?
she go?
She's gone home.
Oh no,
she didn't say goodbye.
Luke Chill, again, talking about Aloisi. I like that he didn't want to leave Australian football. We needed identities like him. Look, one thing on that, it actually kind of annoys me. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I get it and sometimes don't. But like John Aloisi, he was the one who scored the penalty that sent us to the World Cup. He probably gets a bit disrespected given we don't have a huge, great World Cup history. And he is the guy, heroes should stay heroes unless they do something, terrible. And Aloisi, the worst thing he did was Melbourne Heart 10 years ago wasn't great. Anyway, run the memes. I'm sold, Nick. Let Western United win it so they can hang their trophy. Where would they actually? I guess the training group.
Western United would add a new piece of silverware to the hangar before the Bombers, or the Bombers even win a final.
Good old Essington.
Do you imagine on the next Monday they're walking in with the toilet seat and going into the Bombers reception?
Walks onto the track and then he sees a toilet seat just hanging there. Like, you would never get this. Like,
can I just getting back, making a serious point surrounding Nick's thing about John Aloisi getting a lot of stick. I think what Aloisi came to symbolize in a lot of people's minds was the perception that the A-League men's competition was a recycling league. It recycled players, it recycles coaches, it doesn't bring anybody in. And rightly or wrongly, John Aloisi sort of became the poster child for that. He played for multiple A-League men clubs as a player, then he's coming in and coached, and he gets a gig at Melbourne Heart, and then he gets a gig at Brisbane Roar, and then he gets a gig at Western United. So I think that was why a lot of the stick came his way, was because he became the coaching symbol of perceptions of recycling in the A-League. Like I said, I'm not casting judgment on him. I'm just presenting a hypothesis as to why said, stick arose.
Look, it's similar, covering old ground here, but it's similar to the whole when Tim Cahill came back and played for Melbourne City. Tim Cahill as a legend for the Socceroos, and he's probably one of our, definitely the most popular player we've had over the last 10 years. But at the same time, he was playing for Melbourne City, which were kind of seen as the Moneybags team, and the rules had changed just for him to be introduced. So sometimes, I guess, the way these legends come back into the game can be a bit controversial. Pakua from Pong, talking about the trophy, says they would hang it in the green room.
Bring it to F&R. Put it in our studio. Yes, let's do it.
Which is a good line. Run the Meme says the doco is called To Catch a Stadium, the Western United story. Look, I didn't want to bring up the stadium too much, but that's a pretty funny line. So
no. Let's address the elephant in the room now, and we will also address the elephant in the room if Western United win the A-League Men's Championship next week. We talk about Western United turning into a club. Western United as a club can't become a club until that stadium is built. It is intrinsically tied to what that club is purely. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's not the fault of John Aloisi. It's not the fault of the players. It's not the fault of 90% of the people that work for Western United. It is just the reality that checks have been written for that club by words, from people associated with that club, and they have to be cashed now. there will be this club cannot ever hope to become accepted by the rest of Australian football if they don't deliver that stadium. It will be forever a black mark against them until they deliver that stadium. And I don't think they would argue that point. So it'll keep coming up. We're not deliberately ignoring it. The stadium is the thing, but like I said, John Aloisi's, to quote a former he's still an active politician, to quote a former prime minister, to paraphrase a former prime minister, he doesn't hold a shovel, mate. John Aloisi is just the coach. The players play, so we have to. This is ostensibly a show about football, so we judge the football side of things whilst also acknowledging that yes, the stadium is a big deal. It is forever a black mark against that club until they actually get it built.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from that game. One quick thing, very nice goal from Jake Brimmer. I like those free kicks that are right on the edge of the box. We just have to.
You're trying to delay this even further so Devano gets.
I've got 40 minutes, man.
40 minutes. We're gonna get there. We're gonna.
We're an hour and 15 in.
You know what this is like?
We haven't even gotten. We've got like 4 agenda items left.
This is like the reverse Marshawn Lynch. Like, if I am still here for too long, I am going to get fined.
That's good. That's good. All right, let's move through quickly.
Another
Melbourne
great
City.
Lynch, Marshawn.
There you go. Melbourne City v Western United, A-Liga Grand Final. Guys, how do you see it going? Let's talk on the field because we'll talk on the field first. How do we see it playing out, Ante?
Shit.
Okay, great.
What do we think of shit? A-League Grand Final.
On the field.
When you say shit, you just mean like not a lot of chances. Kind of under 2.5.
It'll be like oppressively cagey.
Yeah. Which it's finals. This has happened a lot.
Yeah. But how many times, let's say in finals, the teams playing each other 5 times a year?
What's the worst final you guys have ever seen?
Didn't City and Western United play like half a dozen times in pre-season as well?
Any final in football? Because to me,
any final,
Liverpool v Tottenham Champions League final. Oh God, that was an absolute.
Like any like I think it's a rule. Like any All English Champions League final is going to suck. Like even Chelsea Man City sucked. Like
to be fair, you two Serie A boys. Milan v Juventus in 2003. What a stinker!
Hey, but who won?
Honestly, the whole decade of the 2000s should be eradicated from football and history because of how bad. It's the worst decade of football I think we've seen in the past 50 years.
For anyone who thinks Ante's a little too negative about the A-Liga, no, it's all football. Don't worry about it. This guy takes shots.
Worst final in all of football. Mate, where do I start? Like, if we're talking A-Liga, mate, there was a patch between 2017 and 2019 where we had 3 very unforgettable grand finals. Like the one at Optus Stadium, the Perth Sydney one that meandered out into a penalty shootout. The 2017 one as well. Like that they had little moments in that game, but it was pretty.
The heist in Hunter, where Victoria basically get that VAR assisted goal. And then, they get their goal, and then they just did.
But at least that had something. At least that, like the game in
Thomas
Perth
getting destroyed.
Yeah, at least there were some storylines and some memories out of it. The game again, and the Victory away fans, gave a lot of good atmosphere. But Perth v Sydney, that was horrendous. And then it went to extra time, and then it was so bad. And the fact that the only thing that's memorable about it is Santalab doing a Panenka in his final game straight into the chest of Andrew Redmayne.
I think a series could be garnered from this.
Now, what do you mean? His final game? He's still going around for Strathmore Split.
Yeah, good luck with it, mate.
Coached
by Ante Morris.
But I will say, I think there is a serious point that can be garnered from this. Is that these games aren't memorable. There isn't the only thing that defines these games essentially is controversy or comedy.
It's because the higher the stakes in the A-League, the more pragmatic the approach.
Absolutely, but I wrote about this going back a while, and it was something in relation to the national team, but it's something that can be that can be just as applied, that can be applied just as much to the A-League. It's just soulless football. It's just really soulless football. And you know what? If you guys want to, the moments are great, but yeah. Anyway, it won't be a very fun game, but there might be cool moments in it.
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that there's an early goal and that that forces both these quite reactive teams to take more risks.
Could I ask a question?
Joey. Yeah.
Given what the finals essentially mean as a product, what they represent in the reason we actually have finals football in an A-League's context.
Yeah.
Extra rate, popper rating, sell some more tickets, get some bigger crowds. Does that not necessarily mean that in the context of what the finals represent, that the moments are what matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The finals are all about moments.
Yeah. Like moments define finals, like regular season. Yeah.
But as you say, there's a point of like, basically, I think what matters is, do people go away feeling like that was a significant game and that they will remember that? Now, not necessarily, it might be moments, but look, there's times where I've watched my team play so poorly in important games, and then, Jag or one of those, it doesn't leave you with the greatest feeling of all time.
Games are the games are there to win, but the reality is that the pragmatism that exists within the A-League over the course of the regular season is frankly weaponized in the finals. Yeah. And I think that's been apparent over the semi-finals as well.
All right, just quickly, because I know we want to move on because we want to make sure Debano gets out of here. But a tip, let's get a prediction for next week. It can be any prediction, so under 2.5.
Can I just add one thing just about this game? Talk about the matchup thing. What we were alluding to is the battle between Scott Jamison and whoever lines up on the right flank for Western United, whether it's Lockie Wales or Dylan Parish later in the game. Because in that last game here,
it happened in every game, not just the last game.
Yeah, but especially in the last game. Like we're talking in particular. Dylan had it.
But it makes sense, and it's plausible that he starts. But
he won't start.
No, he won't start. But what I'm saying is, if this game, there probably will be a point where we see him. Chances are, when you look at Western United's bench and the way the game might go, I reckon there's a chance we'll see him.
If Western go up,
yes. But think about it. You think if Western go up, he'll come on?
Yep.
I'm thinking more if they go behind and they're chasing the game.
Bro, why?
Dylan Parish.
Like, if you're playing against a packed defense, like Dylan Parish is probably not the player you want to come on to unlock a defense.
But there's chances that they'll bring him on just anyways. It's attacking legs. That's what I'm trying to do.
Stuff like just cause chaos. Like
that's what will probably end up happening. I mean, it will probably happen either way. He's like usually the first call. Like right now, considering how decimated they are, he's usually one of the first called up upon off the bench anyway.
That was the thing coming into last night as well. That you knew Lushtica was coming on first.
Yeah, but then we don't know if he's going to play. So just in terms of my prediction, keep an eye on that because there could be some moments. There will be something that will happen out there. But if I'm going to go prediction and a win, I'm going to say Western United wins the grand final, guys.
Yeah,
I'm going to say Western United wins. There's something about it. There's a feeling. And when you just got that gut feeling, it's like there's something about this. It's that perfect storm. I reckon Western United win this game. I don't know by how much. I don't think it's going to be a end-to-end spectacle. I think it's going to be literally a little bit like their first two meetings this year when it was decided 1-0. I think Western United are going to come away with the championship.
I agree.
It's going to happen.
Western United, how many games they win 1-0? This is how they're going to finish the season.
It's poetry.
1-0 to the boys in green. Joey, prediction?
Prediction: Melbourne City wins in extra time. Ooh. So they finish they go the entire season without beating a top 4 side within 90 minutes. Because that stat now remains alive despite the win over Adelaide today.
Your dad also mentioned that. You were just like father, like son. He also mentioned that. It's like straight away when the game went to extra time. Well, they still haven't won in 90 minutes against the top 4 team.
I can't even hate without somebody taking it away. Bastards. Somebody's asking for crowd predictions. I will say 14 and a half. The crowd. What? Oh.
Look at
And
Stoll, man. He's
also,
loving this shit.
he was brought up. Scott Jamieson, congratulations to Scott Jamieson and his partner on welcoming their second child into the world yesterday. Hopefully happy and healthy baby, happy and healthy mother. Congratulations to Scott Jamieson. He's already a winner this finals campaign, regardless of what happens next week.
There you go.
Stoll?
All right.
What do you
My
got?
prediction, 1-0 to Western United. Crowd 12,000. And I do think that is a concern. But actually, one thing I just wanted to say as well, I really hope that if Western United do win, gone.
How many are comps?
How many are comps?
Not touching that.
4,000. I really hope.
Let me just say for the record, I think it's going to be a continuation. 0-0 half time, full time under 2.5.
There you go.
And then I'm going to wait. That could mean 1-1. So we're going to extra time, Ante, like potentially.
Look, the reality is like you don't know how goals are going to come in the A-League.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have one question. If it goes to penalties, who misses first? Which player misses first?
Jamie McLaren.
Jesus.
Does Jamie McLaren take penalties in the end?
He takes a penalty. He takes a penalty.
He takes a penalty. I reckon he misses.
I think he takes the fourth penalty for City.
I think Neil Kilkenny misses as well.
I think
Kilkenny whacks the crossbar, goes for power.
No, for Western United, I say
Daggers? You reckon Daggers just smashes it over or something?
Daggers.
Oh, yes.
Daggers.
What am I thinking?
Okay, for Western, I'll say at the very same ends that he scored possibly the best goal in the world this year, Garuccio has a penalty saved. For Melbourne City, I say Naboot puts it into Rosie.
Yeah, okay.
I would just run it, just spanks it.
Look, we're gonna move on. Let us know in the comments your predictions for this game. We will be coming to you live, potentially straight after the game, or potentially on Sunday night. Again, we will announce it.
Mate, some of us have to work at that game, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Some of us have to also work at 1 a.m. the next day for the Champions League final. So, watch that on Stan or Jen. No? The game is on Saturday night, I believe. No.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning, bro. I'm working 4:30.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm saying if we do this, I need to get some sleep in at a certain point. I can't be going at 11 p.m.
I'm working that morning as well. Get over it.
Do you know all I hear is? No ticker.
No ticker.
No ticker.
Anyway, let us know what you guys think.
We'll just replace Stoll with the best host.
Who's that, Josh?
No
one went for you.
We're talking about Josh here.
Joey, you're like Christina Keneally. You keep trying to parachute yourself in, but the people just do not respond to you. They're just like, no.
Should I start doing an Ohio accent now or what?
Anyway, go, Debana.
Crowd prediction: 17,000.
Ooh, that's not too bad.
Because you know why? We'll get enough theatre goers that decide, hey, I want to come watch A-League soccer. It's a grand final. Get enough corporate tickets, and you'll get people like rocking up. They got tickets through work, and
they're like, come on, watch Prijovic.
Hey, look, I see it enough with the AFL grand final. They hand out half those tickets to corporates. It's going to probably be the same thing here. So let's see what happens.
Just looking ahead at the weather. I know it's a wild way to predict, but expected to rain that night, which could affect turnout.
Glorious Melbourne will still find a way to host a better final than Sydney. So don't you worry. Who's going to be the entertainment? Guys, entertainment. Who's it going to be? Who do we want? Let's just throw it around.
Joey Champness, Joey C. Let him do halftime.
You're going to bring Jason Derulo out with a half Melbourne City, half Western United kit?
Well, actually who they could do is the people who did the A-League song, whatever that was.
Do I have to hear that again?
I'll tell you what.
Future, blah, blah, blah.
Actual guess. Without knowing anything about where in the world he is or what he's doing. The Kid Laroi.
No way.
You reckon
mate.
they're going to
How
be
much
able to
he
get
would
the Kid
cost?
Leroy?
Oh my
They almost
God,
got.
Joey.
They almost. Well, the thing was, he was initially set to record the anthem for the A-Leagues this season until it fell through. So they went with "Here Comes the Future" instead.
Hey,
That's
you
a
know,
big
you know,
drop
you know
off.
who they're gonna,
That's
you know
a
who they're gonna
big
wheel
drop
out?
off.
Daryl Braithwaite.
Oh God!
Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let me hold on. Look it up. Are the Pet Shop Boys alive or dead?
Hey,
There's
get the
no
Village
way-
Pet Shop- What about the Village People to do Go West?
All right.
The
This is
They
done.
use the Pet Shop Boys version of Go West,
No, it's the Pet
it's
Shop
the other
Boys
way
ripped off the
around,
Village
right?
People.
don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
bro.
Pet
the
Shop
other way
Boys
around,
would be
mate.
better than the Village
All right.
People.
This
Nah,
is
you know what?
terrible.
Get
All right.
Liam Gallagher
Shut
out
up.
here
Don't-
and do. Go on, sorry.
Stephen Paletti says there will be 5,000 fans, 10,000 cops for a crowd of 15,000. Should we talk quickly about the guy who got evicted by the cops?
I didn't see
Melbourne
this.
City?
What was this?
So basically, I mean, look, it happens quite often, but like a young teenager, I don't know, between 15 and 19 or something, he got pulled out by like 5 cops in the Melbourne City active end. It did seem heavy-handed. You know, you're just going off Twitter. You don't know the full story. I don't know exactly what happened, but it is a concern. It is something they need to fix. It's something they've needed to fix for a long time.
Something the A-Leagues need to focus on fixing during the off-season.
With soccer, like it'll remain. What's that saying? What's that song lyric? Della here to stay. Della Soul is here to stay. Like racism. That's a thing that's going to happen in football as well. Like stigma will always exist with football. I think A-League fans just simply have to get over it and live with it, because that's just like whatever you do, it will not change. You even remove the ethnics from the competition, and it's like there's still this stigma that exists. So.
Showing my age a bit, but De La Soul would be awesome for halftime entertainment.
Yeah.
As would Kid Leroy. I would love it, but it's not going to happen.
You know,
let's quick-
bring out Eros Ramazzotti, and we're all feasting.
Let's talk A-League All-Stars. That game's on Wednesday. Any of you guys excited for it?
Nope.
No.
Joey?
Can we just leave
No.
it here?
I don't begrudge it, but I'm not
Okay.
excited for it.
Look, let's just quickly let us know in the comments if you are excited for it, because I would be interested to see. I am, in fact, going on Wednesday night.
Of course you are, you absolute flog.
I have bought
Doesn't go
tickets.
to an A-Liga game all season, then goes to
wait,
the All-Star game.
Well, you get to see the best all in one.
Would you watch it if MacArthur was playing?
No, okay. I'll tell you what happened. A few mates of mine, obviously, are Barca fans, and they're like, "We have to go, we have to go, So that's why we're going. I'm not hugely excited by it, and I think it's kind of weird because we don't even know, like, you know, what colors they're playing in. These guys have had no time to play together. But I did see that people were asking us to. People were asking free ticket or paid. So unfortunately, I had to pay. That's how. I know, brutal, but you know, I did pay the money. So anyway, let's
You're going to be
quickly...
chanting this time at the ground or what? Like,
Sorry, what did you say, Ante?
you're going to be chanting "Donde está Mbappé" or what at the ground?
That's going to be the best part. But actually, it is a shame. I just got to say, for Barca, you're in Sydney while Madrid is going to Paris for a Champions League. That's a bit of a disaster for
Pretty
them.
brutal, bro.
Hey, Stoll.
You know how great it's going to be when Real Madrid knock out 3 successive Premier League teams to win the Champions League.
The inferior title race going head to head with the Serie A title race. What an absolute joke tonight. But anyways, just quickly, Stoll.
Yeah, go on.
You know what's a shame? You're not going to be
What?
able to watch 90 minutes of From Kessie Sufferball debuting next week as well. But
Hey, imagine
do
if they
that.
start playing Kessie as a DM. Like, you know, let's just yes, I'm not Wilson.
Here we go. All right. Look, what I want us to do is from this lineup, from this squad that we have here, I want us to select the 11. Let's go.
Is this
Dan
we just
Hall.
do a whole one? Like just a all between
Let's go.
us?
Let's go goalkeeper.
I'm
Let's
on
go
I'm on
goalkeeper.
20-minute shot clock, guys.
Let's be quick about it. I'm
I
surprised
roll-
Kurto's there. I'm surprised
Dan
Redman's there.
Hall's not in the team.
All right. Okay, out of Kurto, Redmayne, and Young, who are we going with?
Well, it can't be Jamie Young, so I'm going to say Philip Curto. Joey, you're muted.
It's true. It can't be Jamie. It can't be Jamie Young.
I'm going to say Philip Curto.
All right. Anyone disagree? Jeez, Redmayne's lucky to get in there. How's that?
Between Curto and Redmayne, it's Curto. However, does Birighitti now get called up because Jamie Young's in the?
Oh, surely.
How has he missed out?
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
If so I'm calling up Birighitti to replace Jamie Young and starting Mike Birighitti.
All right, let's
All
go.
right, move
let's
on
go
quick.
left back. Left back. Davidson.
Jason Davidson.
Yeah, it looks like the most accomplished there. All right, we're going to move on. Center back pairing. Okay, Lacroix's out. Curtis Good is out.
Roderick Miranda.
Mariappa.
Yeah, Mariappa.
I'm calling up. I'm calling up Dan Hall to replace Lacroix and standing Dan Hall.
Alex Wilkinson 2.0 on the bench.
Okay. By the way, get in the comments if you want to get in. Like this guy says, Curto. Yep, let us know. Right back. Well, it's got to be Ryan Grant. Really, he's not had a great season, but it's kind of amazing.
Call up Jason Guerrier now, and Guerrier comes in for Garuccio, and he starts at right back.
So look, Jack Pantelio says Kelva should be starting. Which obviously, I mean,
if we want to go meme team,
yeah, but a little bit like. If you want to have some fun, like at the the All Stars, which is meant to be a fun event, let's go for it. All right, let's midfield. Let's Isais. Wow,
wow, what a midfield!
Wow, what a pickup, guys.
No, sorry, I hadn't seen this list before I brought it up, and I'm actually amazed at some of the players in there. All right, midfield. Let's try and make a midfield of this. All right, let's get Pena in there.
You know what, Stoll? Sometimes I worry that I'm not paying enough attention to be like a working journalist in Australian football, and then I come on this podcast and you're like, oh, what? I would say this.
Shut up.
Pena is a 10. Pena is a 10.
Pena, Ninkovic, you get Ninko on there. He's fun. Piscopo. I mean, I don't know where the balance is coming, but
who's playing? Who's playing deep?
Man, I don't know.
We're gonna have to play Rodwell and Isais.
Good luck.
No, we'll play with a single pivot. Play Rodwell as a single pivot. And I appreciate just Ante sandbagging the shit out of this entire segment.
Rodwell as a single pivot would, I think, be a disaster. But anyway, here we go. Stephen Paletti's written in Curto, Davidson, Marippa, Miranda, Grant, Caceres, Pena, Piscopo, Cumdog, Misseltade, Iran Kunda. It's not far off, actually, to be honest with you.
But to be honest, Craig Goodwin will probably start because it's Craig Goodwin. It's because it's the Craig Goodwin value.
All right,
Cummings
and Warren medalist.
Let's get a.
But they're gonna play Mikkel Tadze or Cummings out wide. Like I thought they just play a 4-4-2.
Let's get a front three of this. Front two. I reckon
I'll just go Cummings and Mikkel Tadze front two.
I'd put Qual in there, man. Like let's see something. Let's see some. If he scores against Barca, that's mad. Okay. What do we actually think is going to happen in this game? Because Barca, let's be honest, are not going to give a F about this. All right.
Martin Braithwaite's going to score a hat trick.
4 players.
Sorry, go on, Tay.
They already get rid of 4 players like this weekend.
Well, I mean,
it's been confirmed that they're going to get rid of 4 players this weekend.
Yeah, I believe so. Maybe this is their swan song. Maybe this is their final.
Maybe that's 4 of the 35 players on Danny Townsend's list.
Nicky Puig, while Real Madrid is playing a Champions League final in Madrid, and Nicky Puig, like the darling of Barca Twitter, and chubby avatar Twitter, is going to be playing his swan song for Barcelona in Sydney against the A-League All-Stars.
Unfortunately for you, Ante, I believe he got called up by Catalunya, and he's playing in a game for them.
So this is what's probably going to end up happening. Martin Braithwaite scores a hat trick, and then he's revealed as the new marquee for one of the teams next season, and it'll probably be signed for MacArthur. That's
the thing. Barcelona gets mutual with one of their players at half time. Danny Townsend adds him to the list of 35, and then he comes out for the second half in an All-Stars jersey.
His music.
There was a ex-Barca player who I heard was being pursued by the A-League. But anyway,
Bojan.
Wait. With that, let me guess. Bojan Krkic.
No, you're
The
a fan
bloke
of
sitting
him,
on the
Ante.
bench in like the bottom Japanese
fan.
J1 league side.
You're a fan of this player who was.
So wait,
put out-
like the only Barca player I've ever like enjoyed is
Rakitic.
all right. 3: Iniesta, Rakitic, Suarez.
It's one of those three.
But Suarez already said
it's already
no.
been confirmed. It's already been confirmed that Suarez.
It's not
was
Suarez. It's not
approached.
Suarez who I was told about.
So it's
Anyway.
Rakitic. Ivan Rakitic.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not.
Well, unless Xavi's making a comeback to play for the fucking Central Coast Mariners. I mean, Iniesta.
Hey, well, Luke's telling me I got to go move my car. Luke, it's not as simple as just moving my car, mate. It's in the car park across the road from Amy Park, mate. I'll get fined extra.
Last,
right?
Mate, I'm
last
not even in
question.
the car, mate. You're asking me to move my car, mate.
Yeah, this quartet's going to become a trio very quickly. I'm
let's
guessing.
go.
Okay, last question.
Andiamo ragazzi, attaccare.
Last question.
You
on this
forte.
topic.
No, because we've forgotten midweek. It's also the Dolan Warren Awards.
Oh,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Thursday.
All right, let's do our predictions. Who's winning?
No. Just quickly, I just want to ask, just on this All-Star game, is there, because obviously these players haven't played together, Dwight York has never coached a senior game of football. Is there a scoreline that is actually embarrassing for the A-League at a certain point?
2.5.
No. There's a scoreline that's embarrassing for MacArthur. There isn't a scoreline that's embarrassing for the A-League.
But do you
like
not
the
think...
game is being played is like
I know, but in
league quality.
in the casual fans' eye, and I'm talking about like kids and stuff as well, is there a thing of like, okay, A-League All-Stars, okay, so this is the best of the best you've got? Oh, boom, you're losing 5-0 and Martin Braithwaite's giving you a manita. That'd be funny. But
Could you imagine? Could you imagine giving them the freaking Trae Young?
I don't know. There's a little part of me that's a bit worried about that. And I don't know, it could, these games can get pretty loose. All right, let's go. Dolan Warren medal predictions. Let's just say names. Debano.
Oh, Becca Mikkeltadze wins the Johnny Warren stuff.
Wouldn't it be great? No chance though. Joey.
I can't because I'm a voter.
That's why he remembered it, because he wanted to drop the fact that he was
Joey's cheap plugs.
Joey, who would you vote for? Just
I can't say because
hypothetically, if you weren't a voter, who would you vote for? Hypothetically.
No.
Okay. Ante, go.
I'd say Berenguer.
Okay, nice. I'd say, just top of my head, Max Burgess, but that's all right. All right. I mean, maybe someone will say he didn't start enough games.
I'm going to start packing up. Let's get moving, fellas.
There's 2 medals on offer, Nick.
There is. All right. A-League Women's. Let's go.
Alex Chidi.
Yeah, Chids should win it.
Totally.
Chids should win it.
Totally.
Yeah, Alex Chidiac for me. I'll vote for Josh as well. Alex Chidiac.
I can't say I'm a voter.
The Homer legend saying, "Hang on, didn't Metcalf already win?" That
Alex
was
Tobin.
That's the Alex Tobin medal. That's the Channel 10 pundit medal.
That's Channel 10 pundit. Which I think actually Shane Henry Geraldo made a good point about the 3-2-1 system is a weird way to do that.
Can we just say, is that
Well,
the
that's how
WoW
they
one
have
game medal?
That's how they have us vote for the Dolan Warren medals as well. 3-2-1.
What, throughout the season?
Yeah, I give 3-2-1 throughout the season on the games I'm assigned.
That sucks. I don't like that because it's not you're just giving points in a way that it's not.
That's why I think there could be an out that's why I think there could be an out there winner for the Johnny Warren medal purely based on man of the match performances rather than their sustained impact across the course of a season.
Are we going to get to the final round of the season if they do it like the Brownlow? It's going to be like Melbourne Victory versus Sydney FC. And D'Agostino, 3 votes. Well, they're going to do the tease where they have the same first initial, and it's like Sydney FC. It's like Ninkovic is going for it, right? And it's like M. Burgess.
2 votes.
And then you could just hear the entire room going, "Oh."
EFC.
I tell you what, I think he was actually a good shout for it. Lacroix will be a good shout for it, I reckon. He'll get a lot in those 1-0s.
So in the 3-2-1 system, like, just won't get it.
Oh, imagine
in the
Jamie
1-0s,
Young's going for
on all
it.
those 1-0s that they had.
Imagine Jamie Young's going for it, and it's like Western
Jamie
United.
Young will get more votes than Leo Lacroix.
Interesting.
Western United. Jay Skatardis, 3 votes.
Nick, you might have to go. Stephen Paletti, and I'm reading this one out. I know it's a wrestling reference, but he's also making fun of Joey, so that trumps the wrestling reference ban. That cheap plug from Joey was so cheap that Mick Foley was embarrassed by it. Yes.
So, Joey, are you wearing a belt right now, or you have like a cable tied around your pants? Like,
Devin, I wish I had some cable nearby for the joke.
Let's quickly talk about Hrustic and Carpenter winning European trophies. This was pretty massive. Hrustic, first Aussie to win a trophy, play in the game and win a trophy since Harry Kill in 2005. Sorry?
He didn't win it in jeans.
He won it in jeans. Oh, yeah. Okay,
You can.
Jeans.
And then Ellie Carpenter.
Winning in jeans, what do you think he is?
Winning in crutches.
Ellie Carpenter became the second Aussie to do it straight away when she got 13 minutes before getting injured. And this is a bit of an issue. Potentially
that is the
ACL.
story. Yeah.
Well, no, the big story
ACL.
is she won the Champions League. That should actually be the big story. Like,
Well,
yeah, it's a story.
in the Australian football context, yeah, but it's also impossible to an ACL injury potentially rubs her out for 12 months. So basically until around May 2023, basically a couple of months out from the 2023 Women's World Cup.
Especially for a player who is defined by PMP attributes.
Pace and power. Like, I listen, I don't think that, like, the way modern sports science is, I don't think there's going to be that much of a, like, she can go to Germany and get the calf's blood or whatever it is and all of that sort of stuff. Like, it's just, basically, Tony Gustafsson has basically talked about how he's basically treating the coming international windows as just mesocycles in an overarching plan to get a team that he selected cherry ripe. Now, effectively, he's going to have to go through every single international break leading into the Women's World Cup, assuming it is an ACL for Carpenter, without one of the very few players reliably capable of getting the Matildas up the pitch. It completely changes the entire dynamic of that Matilda squad if you don't have Carpenter there masking some of the issues they have getting the ball forward just by her sheer all day. So it could, like, it's, if she's out, she'll be a nailed on starter come Women's World Cup time. But
huge injury. I'm sorry.
It is.
Ever seen. I'm sorry, but it is.
I mean, who plays right back? I mean, Carly Rosebarken? Does Polly Doran get the call up? It's huge.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell you what, like,
regardless, like,
I'm very happy. I'm very happy for her to have won the Champions League, and obviously, it's not just the final; it's all the games in the lead up to it, and she was massively a part of that, and that's a huge. Obviously, she won it previously, but she joined the club, I think, a week before they played the final. Pakua from Fong says, Nick Stoll, first time remembering Carpenter this week. Thank you, Pakua. That was a nice couple of hours there. But it was nice for her to kind of win that. But it does frustrate you a little bit in the same way with Harry winning it in 2005.
Yeah.
Leaving the pitch so early in the game, especially to not be a part of, actually, in the same way, Istanbul to be a part of such an amazing final. Last night was
we don't talk about that game here, Stoll. We don't talk about that.
No, it's a pretty interesting parallel, though.
Yeah. Last night
just
was
saying from a Milan point of view, guys.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
Look, I mean,
best 45 minutes I've ever watched.
The first 45, Unbelievable. Anyway,
it'll be another great 45 minutes in a few hours' time.
Devana, go move your car.
All right. I'm going to bid you guys all adieu because I got to go. It's been great. I'll see you guys on the flip. Everyone listening at home as well, thank you very much. I'll see you guys next week.
Ciao. All right. The good news is Debano's not going to get the full pay because he didn't last for the full show. So
Now we
actually
can
only.
go. Oh!
Nah,
Say it again.
Shut up.
You're on mute. Say it again. You're on mute. Okay, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible production. I don't know who keeps removing you. Josh, please cut that from the edit. Guys, Hrustic, Carpenter winning the awards, winning the trophies. Sorry. What are your thoughts on it?
It's huge. Like, as individual achievements for themselves, it's huge. It's why one of the major reasons that we all play, anybody plays football, to win shit. And they have now won shit in massively important shit. And obviously, Carpenter's injury, as we've discussed, puts a significant dampener on things. But I think it's huge. I mean, and it guarantees now that, assuming he doesn't get a move, we'll see Hrustic in the Champions League next season as well.
Ante, thoughts?
It would have been nice to see more of Hrustic this season, though.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that's lamentable with Hrustic in isolation, because him and Jukic playing together would have been great. And if Glasner played more, let's say 3-5-2 as opposed to 3-4-3, it would have been fine, because there wouldn't have been such a disparity between games against Barcelona and West Ham. They played Barcelona, look like world beaters. They played West Ham and look like shit. A lot of that had to do with, Jukic not playing, even in the final, and him coming on as a sub. But it was great to see just someone at that level for Australian football again, just because we haven't seen a lot of that in a long time.
In the men's side of the game.
In the men's side, at least. I hope we do see more of that. And
We've got a question coming in. The Homer legend, is Hrustic our best Socceroo? One-word answers. Obviously, he's sick of how long this show goes. 3, 2, 1, go. Ante says yes. Joey?
No.
I'll say yes.
My boy.
One-word answer?
Are you kidding?
No.
Who's your boy? Genre or
I'm memeing. He's
Delbridge.
The former, but no, yeah, I'm memeing. Hrustic is the best.
Yeah, and I think been the best for probably a year now. Anyway,
Which is speaking of lamentable, that means his utilization at the Socceroos, despite that fact.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Do you guys think that? I mean, I'd be interested to see kind of what he is thinking, but he's our best Socceroo. I think, at least we're saying that. And
well, he's our best Socceroo until we call it Volpato. Just waiting for the Debano to reappear.
Do you think he'll look at this and go, "Okay, I've just been a part of something amazing. We've just created history. The scenes in Frankfurt were incredible. That supporter base is incredible, and that's something you saw it with Rogic crying as he left Celtic. You don't get that everywhere. You don't get these incredible supporter bases, and that's something that is going to stay with you forever. And sometimes, you can go chase money somewhere else, but to give up on that, I feel like a lot of people, they miss that more than they miss the money when their career comes to an end. So do you think Hrustic will potentially, should he be looking to move to go to a place where he's starting regularly, or should he try and stay there and push for first team?
Well, where? Obviously, situation is very important, but situation is specifically important for midfielders, because you have utilization is critical for them more than any area on the pitch. That's what intrigued me about the potential move to Betis in January. That would have been great. That would be a really, really good move, and it would.
And speaking of great city, great fans,
great fans, yeah, and it would tick a lot of boxes from Betis' side as well when you consider. The disparity they have between who they have in midfield, having to play the likes of Guardado, Guido Rodriguez, and, William Carvalho, in comparison to, having to play players like Juanmi, Canales, even Fekir, for example. So you have a pretty big disparity between physical and like technical. If you want to use that, if you want to like Paul, if you want to use those two, let's say as opposites, so he'd be a pretty flexible medium between the two. I think Glasner is the way he is. He wants, like, there's a reason his team is the most, one of the most intense presses in Europe, like because he wants players like that, and that was the case even when he was at Wolfsburg. But there's a big ceiling to that. Wolfsburg finished in Champions League places this year, and then Eintracht Frankfurt finished 11th in the league this year because they sucked the ball. Like, they suck with the ball.
That's the other thing. They didn't do that well in the league. So, I mean, look, it's obviously history. And I'll just say, obviously, I was working on it for Stan Sport, and it was a cool moment, him being open to take a FaceTime call so we could interview him straight after the game. And he was really keen. I think he was really keen to get his kind of story back out to Australia, because there was a potential chance that this story was going to go a bit under the radar, because Hrustic, and I think, a few people made this point, has never played in the Premier League, has never actually played in the A-League. Name recognition.
NRI, man. Like, if Bundesliga in NRI rankings is non-existent. Like, unless you play for Bayern or Klopp's Dortmund, like they're the rules for NRI. So if you play for if you're banging them in at Wolfsburg or banging them in at Union Berlin every week, like, your name isn't going to like stick anywhere. And that's.
This is all massively disrespectful to South Melbourne's NRI.
Wow. I mean, he also left there when he was 16, 15 or something like that. I mean, look, and that's the other thing.
He was probably the best player at that club, even at 15, 16, though.
Totally. But actually, and you got to give a bit of a shout out to his parents as well, because it's a very big sacrifice they made in terms of selling their house to fund his kind of trip over there. That's a huge sacrifice. And to be honest, a sacrifice that 9 times out of 10 probably does not work out. So for him to have done what he's done is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that's always, oh, God. See, like, I don't know. Never mind.
All right.
I always feel uncomfortable, like, when we talk about, his parents sold his house and to get him over there and all that sort of stuff, because you said it worked out great for Hrustic.
Yeah. I'm not saying we should encourage it.
Yeah, 99 parents that also sell their house for their kids, they just end up a bit destitute.
I'm not saying we should encourage, and it puts huge pressure on the kid as well. That's the other thing. If my entire family is based on me being 16 years old and trying to make it, that's incredible kind of pressure put on a kid. But it is an amazing story, and I do wish that it had been picked up a little bit more by kind of the mainstream media. It did appear on Channel 9 News. I made sure of that. But, I think it was an amazing story that maybe got a bit lost. Same with Ellie Carpenter as well. That's an incredible achievement. Jack Pantelios says, Ante dead set. What does NRI mean?
Okay. For everyone playing at home, NRI means Name Recognition Index. And so if you play in the Premier Liga, your NRI is through the roof. Like, if you're a De Bruyne...
To the moon.
Like, you're not like a Sebastian Thiel playing for Sheriff Tiraspol, for example. Like, these are worlds apart. And the reality of NRI is your NRI exists if you play in the Premier League. And if you don't play in the Premier League, it doesn't exist.
Here's a good example. Daniel Sturridge, extremely high on the NRI. Prijovic, not high on the NRI.
Yeah.
Who was the better player this year? And I go with my favorite saying, availability is the best ability. And by that count, Daniel Sturridge is one of the worst players in history. The Homer legend. Which club in the A-League this season did the worst with the highest NRI, apart from Western Sydney Wanderers, who's obviously number one? Well, outside of the one player that Perth had, Daniel Sturridge, Brisbane had almost no one on the NRI. Sydney FC, actually. Sydney FC they have a lot of NRI and didn't do well at all.
In an Australian context, they jam-packed with NRI.
Jack Pinto says, thank you, Ante. Now to work out what XMP at the end of the That means kiss Mark Bosnich.
Kiss Mark Bosnich.
And by the way, when he got hacked, the reason that people knew it wasn't him was because they weren't
Because he didn't
finishing the messages to XMB. That is amazing. Yeah, Forza Bozza. Bozza, I got to say, one of the nicest dudes to work with. All right, guys. Well, kind of coming to the end of the show.
Bozza, come on TNC, Bozza.
He might. We want to get your questions. We'll try and rifle through this. I'll just share the screen of our mentions, which always is a dangerous thing to do. But we did have a lot of questions, and I want to try and get to some of them. Edmund our Young was asking if the worst happened, who should start it right back in place for All right. If you were Greg O'Rourke, this is Stephen Paletti, who's asked a few things throughout the day. If you were Greg O'Rourke, which two players would you have selected for the All-Star squad and why?
Dan Hall.
You know who I'm going to say?
Yeah, Dan Hall and Max Burgess.
Bernardo.
Yeah. I feel like they should have gone younger. Like, honestly, I think don't add anyone who's over 30 and terrible.
Dan Hall, Steve, for me, Dan Hall, for obvious reasons, because he's young, and Max Burgess, because he's a baller, and just the sight of, even if he's wearing a shitty All-Stars jersey, just Max Burgess with his low socks and left foot, against Barcelona.
He lived in Barcelona as well for a year or two. So can we get the list of marquee signings for each club based on playing style and identity? We can't go through each club.
We can't. That's
that can't exist if the league is actually sorting that out for the clubs.
All right. That's a good point, actually.
Like I said last week about undermining the legitimacy of the footballing competition, this is one of those reasons.
Well,
sorry, just one second. Someone asked, dead set while you're at it, PNP. So this is the problem. Can I just say, I warned these guys about these in references at the start of the podcast, and they persisted with it. But you know what I love? That you guys have been persisting with this podcast despite not knowing what any of these things mean.
PNP stands for pace and power.
There you go. Run the memes.
Ante Rebic. Just imagine Ante Rebic, and you pretty much get pace.
Andrew Debut, who is the Australian Ante Rebic.
All right. So, is there any marquee signing that you really want for any particular club?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The greatest A-League marquee signing in history was Peter Crouch, and the ship sailed.
I'll say Andres Iniesta at Sydney FC. Thank you very much, and I'll be buying a membership. Was asked about crowds. There was a question about someone was asking a pass mark about what is the pass mark for a crowd next week. I would say 15,000 plus.
I would rather just a better game of football, because that will ultimately impact the pass marks or the crowds down the line.
Yeah,
and I will say a crowd of 15,000 purely because in reality, the crowd and the atmosphere will inform general understandings in the Australian public about whether it was a good game or not the actual quality of the football.
Luke here,
speaking from not obviously not in an ideal world, but that's what will happen. That's what will inform analysis of whether it was a good spectacle or not.
Luke here asks, can someone explain next year's ACL spot, specifically if VUC or City win the Cup? Does the last half spot go to the Cup runners-up, 21, 22, third place, or champions? I think someone did respond on Twitter.
I asked when City were winning the Premiership, I asked an APL person, does this mean they've locked up an ACL slot? And he basically told me, don't write about it because we don't know. We're not 100% sure yet.
Okay. I think someone said this season wasn't counting towards.
Nothing's been fully determined yet.
Interesting. This guy, Ando, does ESPN now enforce the pod in the last 30 minutes? Well, you can see that hasn't happened tonight. We're in the 2-hour mark.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
Ante rant on marquees incoming. That's from Alan Riley. We've kind of done it.
Kept it even. Kept no ranting.
We did the starting lineups. Joe K, who asked that for the All-Star game. But yeah, otherwise that we can keep going. do want to say thank you to everyone.
I love how you just cut out the meme, cut out before the meme mocking you came up on the screen. I'm going to retweet that. I'm going to retweet that using the official account.
Luke Chill asks, should 2 legs stay? I quite like 2 legs.
2 legs, add away goals.
2 legs for 2 legs for everything leading up to the final.
Yeah, agree with that.
Even though, like, I'll be honest, I don't like finals. Like, we already have a cup competition.
Yep. For sure.
I think most of this pod would be in alignment on just extend the length of the regular season and get rid of finals.
Yeah, but then have 2-legged FFA Cup semi-finals, quarterfinals, so on and so forth. Good show, guys. I thought I was going to be listening to ESPN's flagship podcast, The Far Post, but good nonetheless. Thank you to Torres. ESPN
everybody knows that ESPN's flagship podcast is actually Beyond the Lead.
No, ESPN Daily is actually a really good podcast. You should check that out. Ivan Stragan, just waiting for the classic Stephen A. ESPN closing statement at the end of the show. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to ESPN Plus. Does anyone want to give us
do we have any Stephen A. clips?
I don't think
in our archive,
unfortunately. And then you'll have to add them in for Josh. We should give a quick shout out to everyone who said very nice things about us.
Yes, 1,000%.
When the ESPN announcement, and a big thank you to ESPN for trusting us. We really do appreciate that. But there was a lot of very nice things said by a lot of people, both privately and publicly.
And some not very nice things because we weren't nanny to Melbourne victory.
We weren't nanny to Melbourne victory. But you know what? I did actually want to make this point. It just shows like kind of what the list of marquees actually gives Australian football is speculation. Right, just content and speculation, and at least it generates some conversation, which isn't the worst thing. But also, problem is everyone's expecting like Suarez and Modric and Iniesta and all these things, and then the names that we're actually going to get down to, I think, are probably going to be underwhelming. And that's actually, and we talk about this was kind of the underwhelming, more of a joke. But when the actual marquees come, people are going to be pretty pissed off. That's why I actually thought it was interesting how pissed off people were that this announcement wasn't nanny to Melbourne. That it's like, this is what the league's become.
Hat.
Yeah.
What's that Simpsons line? You could have this or whatever's in this box. The box.
Yeah.
I don't know. If they sign Iniesta, I'll be happy. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. But guys, any closing statements before we wrap up?
With respect to this show, and thanks for allowing us to be us. That's it. And
Joey?
Thanks for listening.
With respect to the show, also, obviously, it was just the core crew, sans Josh Parish for this edition. But despite the move, even with the move to ESPN, still keen to use this as a platform to elevate the voice of up-and-coming young journos who have fantastic things to say that deserve to be heard. So we're keen to have the likes of Ben Smith, Taron Hedo, Pakua Frimpong, when we resurrect Lockie Flanagan after he was murdered by Anna Harrington, and more journalists. He's not an up-and-comer, but Camberolo, get him back on the pod. We're keen to bring you more diverse voices in the Australian scene. And if you have any young journos that you feel deserve to be platformed, and if anybody you want to see on the show, add us. Just let us know. We're on the socials. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're now on ESPN's YouTube. But just add us. Bring people to our attention. We want this to be a platform for more voices to break up the strangleholds that exists around football discourse in this country.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to ESPN Plus and make sure to rate, whatever to the national curriculum. Just share it, help it grow, and we would really appreciate that. Jack Pantelios, Oli Bazanik, special guest next week if we can find him. Still don't know where he is.
Live from space.
Yeah, look.
I'm working on a very special A-Liga men's player guest at some point during the off-season, early in the off-season.
Oh, interesting. Well, Bazanik, we just don't know whether he's been abducted by aliens. Look, we have no evidence to suggest that he has. but we have no evidence to suggest
If he has been
hasn't.
abducted by aliens, the aliens are forcing him to perform Isuzu Ute promos on his Instagram.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week after the A-League Grand Final. We'll chat to you then. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you again next week.